Hello, Scream Demons, and welcome to the Screams from the Basement podcast with Sam and Casey.
This is a horror podcast in which two horror fans discuss all things horror, including news, recent watches, horror collectibles, and more.
I am one of your co-hosts. I am Casey the Killer Kelderman.
And I'm Sam the Damned Lens.
And
let's get
screaming. Sam, what is up? What is new? What is going on?
Lots of stuff, I guess. Lots of stuff. I've been watching a lot of horror movies in the last couple of weeks, and I know you have too.
Yeah.
We have kind of a stacked doing category for later in the episode.
We have a pretty stacked episode in general.
Yeah, we do. We have a big SiouxperCon announcement. We're tackling two very fun aughts slashers.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we saw quite a few new releases.
So we have a lot of new releases in our recent watches, our doings later on.
Yeah, quite a few. Two of which we just forgot to discuss last episode somehow.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what happened.
Either of our notes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be fun to catch up on that.
Yeah, so let's not waste any more time. Let's jump into it. Like last episode, when we talked about we did Slither and Feast as our first gross Aughts April double feature. Today we are talking we're talking the first two Wrong Turn movies from 2003 and 2007. So we're getting into more gross Aughts April here on this episode. But before we get to that, like last episode, we introduced a Scream Queen, a horror icon that is coming to SiouxperCon, which we are involved with. We run the film festival portion of SiouxperCon, including some film screenings that we'll just tease. We're not going to say what they are yet. We'll tease, but they may have something to do with our guests from either last episode or this one. We'll see. But without further ado, we're about to introduce our next horror icon, our next Scream Queen, our next person you've seen in so many different things.
Yeah.
And I think that's a real testament to her staying power at fan conventions, especially because so many people know her from so many different things. But for us, she's in a movie that's aptly part of Gross Aughts April.
Yes.
A movie we already talked about on this podcast when we both raved about very early on in the show. That is 2002's Eli Roth Cabin Fever. The guest coming to SiouxperCon in September here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. The one, the only, Serena Vincent from Cabin Fever. She's also a Yellow Power Ranger. She's also in
not another teen movie.
Not another teen movie. Like, she's in so many different things, and it's so cool to see what people know her from. I perhaps knew her from Not Another Teen Movie before I knew her from Cabin Fever.
Yeah, I probably would say the same.
And if you don't know, she plays the foreign exchange student in in Not Another Teen Movie. If you've ever seen that movie, you know exactly who we're talking about.
Yes, you do. She's really funny in that movie. She really is. I mean, that movie in general is just very funny, but yeah.
Very funny.
Tales of Halloween, she's also in that. A great little horror anthology. Have you seen Tales of Halloween, Casey?
I have not, no.
Ooh, okay. We might have to do an episode on that one in the future. That is a fun, weird little horror anthology that obviously all takes place on Halloween. And the wraparound isn't so much a story, it's just all of these stories are taking place supposedly in the same town. And the wraparound is Adrienne Barbeau playing a late night radio DJ.
Okay.
It's pretty cool. Yeah. Surprised you haven't seen that one. It was on Netflix for 5 years, it felt like.
Yeah, I obviously I know what it is, and I've seen it on every streaming service.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've never watched it.
Yeah, it's good. Neil Marshall has a segment on that that I love. I actually have the DVD of that one. I had to have a physical copy of it. So
But for people who might be wondering where she is in Cabin Fever, she's in one of the most
yeah.
iconic scenes of this movie. Serena Vincent is in the leg shaving scene. She's the one.
Oh,
She's the character shaving her leg in that movie, and obviously we talked about that scene in depth in our Cabin
yep.
Fever episode. It is one of the grossest scenes in that movie. One of the gross aughts scenes
Yeah.
in general. Yeah, we're super excited to have Serena in attendance for SuperCon. Again, like I said, she's also a Power Ranger on a series I didn't watch. I've only watched a handful of the Power Ranger stuff, but obviously for nerds that are attending SuperCon, that's a big
That's
deal. A
yeah.
Power Ranger.
I mean, Power Rangers in general are cool. I've watched so much Power Rangers that I've probably seen her in episodes
Mm-hmm.
throughout childhood because I always watched whatever Power Rangers was on.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty exciting. It's pretty awesome. It's cool that we have someone from Cabin Fever, which is a movie I think both of us, especially revisiting it for the podcast, really loved.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's pretty cool that within 2 years of doing this podcast, we get to invite a guest to SuperCon that we've already discussed on the pod, which is, I don't know, just kind of cool.
Yeah,
Kind of cool.
super cool.
And yeah, if you want to hear us gag about the leg shaving scene in Cabin Fever, you can go back and
Mm-hmm.
listen to that very early episode of the pod. So
Yeah, so
dope.
that's Serena Vincent coming to SuperCon in September here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Visit supercon.com for more information and get your tickets. And stay on the lookout for more announcements, not only from us but from them. We have more things planned. We have so many things planned, especially
Yeah.
for the film festival side of things that we have not announced yet. But we are very excited to, and yeah, those will start trickling out over the summer. Those
Yep.
announcements.
For sure. For sure. We've got a pretty stacked festival that's
Mm-hmm.
shaping up for you guys. So it's
Yeah,
exciting.
horror fans, you're gonna love it.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's speaking of something to gag about, let's jump into our main topic for this episode. We're talking Wrong Turn and Wrong Turn 2 Dead End as our gross aughts double feature, kicking off first of all with 2003's OG original Wrong Turn. Let's talk about this movie because both of these movies obviously very tied together because it is the first two movies in the franchise. But
Mhm.
why these two movies, Sam? I had never seen these going in. This was an idea of yours,
It
so
was.
I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, so Wrong Turn is one of those movies that, back in '03, I was what, 10. And that was kind of when I was getting into horror. I was watching like Freddy versus Jason and Leprechaun Back to the Hood and all those. And this was one of those movies that was around when I first started going over to friends' houses and renting, disgusting movies to watch from behind like knitted blankets and through my fingers and all that. And I remembered watching Wrong Turn and being thoroughly disgusted by it. Um, Not really liking it, but having certain things stick with me over the years. Um, but I'd never really gone back and revisited it. And then I've been watching a lot of Joe Lynch stuff and found out that his directorial debut was Wrong Turn 2. And I was just like, I gotta see Wrong Turn 2 now. So here we are. We couldn't talk about Wrong Turn 2 without talking about Wrong Turn, especially since you had not seen them.
Yeah.
So I proposed a Wrong Turn double feature, and I'm pretty happy with that choice. Actually, I was pleasantly surprised I was pleasantly surprised with one of these movies.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is okay, and the other one that is okay is 2003's Wrong Turn. Yeah, Casey, what did you think of this being a first time watch?
Yeah, so I obviously knew of the premise of these movies, mutant cannibals who live out in the woods and
Yep.
presumably kill teenagers. And I mean, that's what these movies are, is
Yeah.
mutated cannibals who live in the woods that kill teenagers. And
not just the woods, the mountain woods of
the,
Appalachia.
the mountain woods, yes. Yeah, this first one, so I had fun with both of these movies.
Yeah,
I don't
for
think
sure.
like I wouldn't say, yeah, I liked both of them. I'm not going to say anything really bad about either one because I had fun watching them. The thing that stood out to me with especially this first Wrong Turn, and we'll get into the like plot and the details and stuff in a second, but just like looking at like again gross aughts movies,
Mm-hmm.
this definitely has that like early 2000s vibe.
Yeah,
But it's not like other ones. It feels more like in the vein of like Cabin Fever than it does like the '03 Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where every film like around this time, especially slashers, the few that we got had this grainy green filter over everything. And it
yeah,
felt like you need to take a shower afterwards.
yeah. I was kind of thankful that. Well, I still felt like I needed to take a shower after this movie,
Yeah.
but I was thankful that it wasn't the green hued, like really dismal looking. I mean, there are some dismal looking sets, but that's, more by design than by a crappy color filter.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, I appreciated Wrong Turn quite a bit actually. It's not one that like blew my mind or anything, but I did on rewatch. I did enjoy it. It was fun. Although I will say it was not as gory as I remember it being. It was as gross as I remember it being, but gross and gory are two different things.
Yes. Yeah.
And so Gross Aughts, Gross Aughts April is still very much intact. Wrong Turn is a gross movie, but it's not actually that gory of a movie. It's a little bit like it's not on the level of this movie, but it is a little bit to me like Tobe Hooper's original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where like you kind of think you see more than you really do in this movie. And I do think that that's a strength of it at times, and at other times I think this probably should have been gore.
Yeah, this definitely takes more inspiration from the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre than it does even Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure.
Where it does leave a bit open for the imagination while also having some very gross mutated characters in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is directed by Rob Schmidt, who I don't know him from anything else, I don't think. And
no.
From what looking at, his IMDb and stuff, it doesn't look like he did much before or after this. Written by Alan McElroy. The film stars Alicia Dushku, Jeremy Sisto, and a bunch of other people. Like, I don't know anyone in this cast. This is a relatively unknown cast for this movie. It follows, like, the plot follows a question mark doctor.
Yeah. He seems to be a doctor, but it's never explicitly stated what he does.
Yeah.
He's just a city slicker.
He's a
who
city
rubs
slicker
the locals the wrong way.
doctor with a muscle car, and he's on his way to a job interview. We do know that.
He's too fast paced for this Appalachia life.
Yeah, he can't be waiting for road construction. He needs to get there. So he ends up on this beaten path of nowhere and ends up at this old house, and he takes directions from this old hermit who runs
the gas station.
I guess gas station. I don't know if he actually even has gas or anything of convenience at his convenience store. But
doesn't seem like it.
This old mountain man who has like 3 teeth left in his mouth, and he's constantly sipping on some Pepto-Bismol.
And letting it like dribble down his chin.
Like
he's shirtless. It's like dribbling down his stomach, and it's just the gross. Like, he is the grossest thing in this movie for sure.
He is, but also, his breath is going to at least be okay when he's talking to you.
Yeah, that's true. He
might be missing.
Will cover it up.
He might be missing most of his teeth, but with how much Pepto-Bismol he's sipping down, like that minty flavor's there constantly.
Yeah. And he won't burp. His stomach is settled, you
It's
know.
settled, yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like maybe we're not giving him enough credit.
I
Maybe
think
he's a lovely man.
he gave the guy he's not a bad guy.
No.
He's just a weirdo who likes to sip down some pink Pepto-Bismol
Yeah.
out in the woods.
Yeah. And yeah. Am I wrong or does he return?
Yeah,
Oh,
he's
that
in the he's in
yeah.
the second one. Yeah, he's
Okay.
sipping down some Pepto-Bismol on
I
that
was
one
about to
too.
say, yeah, we did. We made that comment, didn't we? I
Yep.
didn't see it in my notes, but I'm like, I'm pretty sure Pepto-Bismol guy is back.
Yeah. I love like just weird characters like that have like a one little quirk.
Yep.
Like James Wan does it in Dead Silence
Yeah.
too, where the
Donnie Wahlberg.
Donnie Wahlberg's just shaving with an electric
Always.
razor the entire movie. And it's like, why is he doing that? I love weird quirks like that. And
Yep.
this guy
Founders Day, you've got the sheriff just eating like something
candy
all the time,
entire
eating
time.
candy. Yeah.
Those usually end up being my favorite characters in movies.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
just, I don't know, it gives me something to latch onto besides like, hey, this is my, like the M. Night Shyamalan thing, this is my name and occupation. It's like, it at least gives them something, some
Yeah.
sort of quirk. And I just love that it's he's drinking Pepto-Bismol. It's so random, it's so weird, but also like makes total sense for the type of character that we're introduced to here.
I would argue too that he is the only memorable character in this, aside
Yeah.
from the mutant hillbillies. But you know,
Yeah, I would say so. So once our city slicker doctor, he ends up going down this road and he's playing the worst music possible. I don't know what
Yeah.
he's listening to. Some generic 2003.
it's mom
like,
rock,
Mom rock.
essentially.
Yeah, it's exactly that. It's a mom band, and he's jamming to it. He drops the CD.
But the
Correct?
music's still playing, I think.
But the music is still playing. Anyway, what happens is he drives his muscle car straight into the back of this SUV that has 5 like college students in it that are like
And
on a trip.
He's also going like at least 60, 70 miles down a dirt road that's got very many, like a ton of winding curves while he's looking for a CD. I'm like, this guy kind of deserves to die, and I wish that when his car hit, he would have.
Yeah. I mean, he's a nothing character, and then we're introduced to like 5 more nothing characters.
Yes. Although one of them is played by Lindy Booth, who we do know from other movies, mostly Jeff Wadlow ones, because I believe they are married. But she was, spoiler alert for Cry Wolf from 2005. She's the evil chick in that.
Who's she in?
Yeah.
That?
She's the one that gets killed first.
Oh, she's the horny one.
Yes. Yeah, that one.
Okay.
Yes. She's the one that gets the barbed wire through the mouth. Yeah.
Yeah. So the characters that we're introduced to, they're nothing characters. They're like leader guy of the group, who I like him as a character. Like he was kind of funny. He was ad-libbing. You could tell a lot of his lines. Like,
that guy was 100% like a struggling stand-up comedian that just got a role in a horror movie.
Oh, he was 1,000%.
He was testing his jokes out.
He 1,000% like started an improv comedy class the week before he went to go shoot Wrong Turn, just so he could beef up his improv chops in this movie. He was doing a decent job. It wasn't like standout funny, but he was at least giving something quirky to the movie.
He was giving me David Schwimmer and Friends vibes for most of it.
100%.
He's a little bit of a sad sack.
Like if Ross went to improv, that's this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's like his girlfriend, and it's just like that's her character. They're about to get married, and like that's them. You have the main like love interest to Doctor Guy, and she just broke up with her boyfriend, and that's why they're on this vacation. And then you have horny stoner couple. Which
they're my favorites, and they go first.
They go very quickly, too.
They go very quickly. I was like, oh,
quickly.
we don't get any time with them. Like, they just, They have sex on the hood of a car while other people are out trying to better the situation, and
Yep.
because of it, they get axed and barbed to death. Um,
That's the first rule of horror movies. You don't smoke weed and then you don't bang on the top of a car.
yeah, it's just bad news.
Bad news, especially when mutant cannibals are around like this. But again, their kills like are basically off screen for the most part.
Yeah, like the guy dies completely off screen.
Completely off screen. The
You
girl,
at
you
least
get the
get a little
wire.
bit of the barbed wire, and then you see like the aftermath of it. But yeah, it's like it's a being the first kills of the movie. It was a little. Well, I mean, not the first kill because there's the cold
There's a
open
cold
with the
one.
rock climbers and stuff. But that. I mean, that's just typical. Like, there's nothing that like really sets me on fire with that one.
Yeah,
You know?
it's a very forgettable cold open to the
Yeah.
movie because again, you don't see a whole lot.
Yeah, you don't see a whole lot. It's like it's trying to play coy about what's out there, and it's like, who cares? Show your mutant cannibals.
Yeah,
Like,
it's not like it's a shark from the shark
yeah,
from Jaws. Like it's
yeah,
people in makeup. Show them.
yeah.
And it's not like it was like interesting characters you're following. Again, it's nothing characters who one thing you know about them is they're rock climbers because that's what they're doing.
Yes, 100%. It's so weird. You don't even know if they're dating. You kind of presume they are, but there's nothing there. So
And
yeah,
it's not like the characters we're introduced to later are like, yeah, our friends went missing rock climbing out in these nothing has nothing to do with the plot.
Yeah, it's kind of insane, but I also feel like that's par of the course for like especially these early 2000s ones, you know?
Mm-hmm. The thing about this movie, though, and that I think Wrong Turn 2 does better, is that there's way too few of characters in this.
Yes.
Again, there's what, 6 people, 6 characters we're introduced to, and by the 20-minute mark, 2 of those characters are gone, dead.
Yeah.
The horny stoner couple is just gone from the movie, and then it's kind of just those 4 other characters meandering throughout the woods.
Yeah.
For a little too long.
Well, and here's the weird thing about how this all plays out. They find the barbed wire wrapped in their tires, and it is connected to a tree. So they know someone set a trap for them out there. But there is no urgency to anything these characters do.
No.
They will go to a place that's clearly like they will go to the murderous family's house. It is clearly a murderous family's house. There are cars all over the place that are not like from all different states. There's disgusting, like rotted meat all over the place. It's nasty. And they're just like, we should try and find a phone.
We should try to find a phone. Also, I need to go to the bathroom. This looks like a place I would still want to go to the bathroom in.
It's insane. I'm just like, yo, get out of the woods.
Yeah.
Just start walking the other way. They literally walk towards where they were going. And I was like, no. When barbed wire gets wrapped around your car, you go the opposite way that you were going when you hit the barbed wire. You go back to civilization.
Yeah, you go back and wait in line like the rest of the people waiting outside the Appalachian Mountains. Like,
right.
These are very stupid characters.
Very stupid characters.
And I don't like, I can usually suspend my disbelief of character stupidity in horror movies, especially because of that. I mean, that's a major trope. But in this one, it's like that's kind of their only thing. Yeah. Is that they're dumb and just, again, it's not like it's not necessarily like they run upstairs instead of running out the front door type of thing. It's even worse than that. It's just like you're very clearly in like a home of cannibals with like rotting meat and flesh everywhere. And I guarantee it just stinks of death inside this cabin.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom in here.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you're not. You're gonna run the other way.
They escape the cabin. They find a lot of like cars that clearly means these people have been doing like a huge junkyard full of cars. That's like, oh, these people do this like weekly. Mm-hmm. And they stand around that freaking car lot, even though they know they're being chased. They walk around and it's like they're Sunday car shopping.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane.
Well, and then they find the barbed wire that was used for the trap, and as soon as they find the barbed wire, of course, the cannibal
Yeah.
mutants show up.
But they don't even like the person who finds I can't even remember who finds the barbed wire, but the person who finds the barbed wire is just like, "Hey guys, you should come over here and look."
look
Like,
at what I found. Barbed wire. It kind of looks like the one that hit our car, like we ran over with our car.
and that's not even exaggerating for effect. Like that's the level of urgency with which these things are revealed, and it's just like, did everybody take like Ambien before they walked on set? Like, what is going on? I would be in fight or flight mode right now. I'd be in flight mode. There's no fight. I'm out of there.
Well, even when these mutant cannibals show up, they have the worst plan possible. They hide under the bed and hide in the closet until they fall asleep, and they're gonna sneak out. It's like that's what you do, like when your parents don't like if you like had a girlfriend over and you're like, my parents shouldn't know. I'm gonna wait for them to fall asleep and then sneak out. It's like, no, these are very clearly mutant cannibals who have killed people and have brought your friend to this place, and you're just gonna watch them like cut your friend's head off because they bring the bodies of the stoner couple there, and they just watch them like mutilate their friend's body and just
desecrate it, like
just hide under a bed in a closet. It's like, again, these are just the dumbest characters with no sense of urgency at all.
They're sleeping, their guns aren't even with them, they're leaned up again, and it's like, take the gun,
shoot them,
take the gun and shoot them. Like, they killed two of your friends.
Like, sneak out the front door. They have this terrible plan once they get outside of like, one of us is going to distract them, and then the other
in the car lot.
In the car lot, and then we're going to the other three of us are going to run the other way, and
we'll run to their truck and we'll pick up the distraction. But the distraction runs in a straight line directly away from the mutant cannibals and gets shot in the leg immediately.
Stupid doctor gets shot.
Yeah, the stupid doctor. And then the rest of them start running, and the other guy decides to be a hero and actually has some brains because he zigzags so they can't actually shoot him. That only lasts a while, though. He does end up getting shot with arrows because he stops like 10 feet short of the car, to have like a I made it moment. Well, no, you didn't yet. You're not in the car.
Yeah, get in the car.
It's insane, man. Like the lack of urgency these characters have.
Well, even this movie has a lack of urgency because after that guy dies, who is like the improv comedian almost, he gets shot with a couple arrows and dies, and his girlfriend's like, the entire movie she's so useless after that.
Yeah,
she's like, I want to go back and get him. I'm like, no, he's dead. Like, you saw him die like 20 feet away from you.
Not even 20 feet. He was so close to the vehicle.
And so they take off. It's the doctor. Again, I don't even know these characters' name. It doesn't matter. It's doctor.
The doctor, the final girl.
The final girl.
We should bring up the final girl, the 2000s final girl outfit. Lowrider jeans and a white tank top showing a little bit of midriff.
Yeah. Total Jessica Biel, and again 2003's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, exact same outfit.
Totally Lori from or not, well, maybe her name was Lori. The final girl in Freddy versus Jason, exact same outfit.
Yep.
Like, it's always the white tank top, blue jeans. In fact, if I'm remembering correctly, at one point I am pretty sure the Stay Alive final girl wears the exact same thing.
Oh,
not for the whole movie, but I'm pretty sure at one point she's just wearing a white tank top and some lowrider blue jeans.
Some blue jeans, yeah. That was just like the par for course for final girls in the early 2000s.
Yep. They were like, if you have terrible fashion sense, you can make it through a 2000s horror movie.
So these three characters that are left, and the other one's engaged girlfriend who watched her boyfriend die. They're in the truck of the mutant cannibals, and for some reason they keep driving down this road they're hoping to find civilization. And they come across like apparently the only place in this entire woods where it rained because
Yeah,
the truck gets stuck
the
and
truck got stuck in mud.
and they can't get it out, and they decide to start walking the rest of the way. And again, this movie has a zero sense of urgency again, because it's like, well,
Yep.
how do we we can't just end the movie where they drive off. What do we do? Well, they get stuck in mud. Even though nothing is ever set up that this could happen, not even a trap
Nope.
from like the mutant cannibals, nothing like that. It's just a minor inconvenience that stops them.
Yep. It's insane that there's 3 of them, and it's a little mud puddle that only one tire is stuck in, and they weren't able to push this thing out of the
And it's just like a little part of the road too. It's not the
Yeah.
entire road. It's just a little part. I don't know.
They just essentially they just hit a pothole.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, the tire's in a pothole. We can't do anything. Well, yeah, you could just drive.
Well, and then that leads to arguably my favorite set piece of this movie that we spend all of 5 minutes at.
Yeah.
And they're in this like the watchtower of like a
For
park,
like the fires.
like
Yeah.
like a fire watchtower up in the trees where like a park ranger would stay and watch to keep a lookout for forest fires. And so they climb their way into that, and I'm like, that's such a cool set piece. That's where our final act obviously should be. No, we have like 40 minutes more of this movie, and it's like basically the mutant cannibals see the light inside of
Yeah, because they're like so stupid because these mutants are still chasing them.
Yep.
And the first thing they do when they get up to this tower that's meant to see and be seen from all over, they light a lantern.
They light up a lantern and some glow sticks and turn on the radio, basically having a party. Like up there. But they're trying to call for help.
Yep.
And again, obviously the mutant cannibals that are chasing them find them pretty easily and start climbing up and basically just light the lookout tower on fire. And that's really the end of that section.
They hop out into the trees. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they have this kind of weird like Tarzan fight in the trees. It's very weird.
But there's like some cool fluid camera work and editing in this that like, so from the watchtower through the trees is like my favorite stretch of the whole movie.
The best part of the movie. Yeah.
And it's because there's a sense of urgency to it. Like the characters get up there and they're like radio for help, and they radio for help immediately. Aside from them turning lights on, it's the only time they make a smart decision in this entire movie. And then they jump out into the trees. Another pretty good decision. But oh no, the mutant cannibals can climb trees too.
Yeah, like they climb trees like monkeys. Like they're just swinging through these trees.
Yeah.
And it makes it stand out because it takes it outside of like just generic slasher in the woods to something a little bit more elevated.
Yeah, literally.
Literally, they're up in the trees, and it's a ton of fun. It's a fun set piece. I think it's like for me, the best version of this is in a different order where they end up in the trees and then it goes to the watchtower.
Yeah.
Where that's where the final act happens, because the final act just happens back at the cabin.
Yeah, and it's really like it's lame.
Super lackluster and lame.
Yeah,
But the sequence in the trees is a ton of fun, and I think it's the big standout scene of this movie. And it's the one that I'm going to remember from it is the watchtower and then the fight, the chase through the giant trees in the woods.
Oh, and see, that's the thing. I feel like if the rest of the movie had the same urgency as like that set piece, or I guess those 2 set pieces put together, like it would be a pretty damn good chase movie, like, because that's essentially what it is. It's just that the problem with having a movie that's 90% a chase through the woods is if you have no urgency to anything that your characters are doing, the chase is not exciting. So, I have a feeling what they were going for was like, oh, they are just trying to escape these woods before they get killed. But it doesn't feel that intense, you know.
Mhm.
Like there are long stretches of this movie where it's kind of like, okay, I mean, I guess if you want to get murdered, you can stay here for another half
Yeah.
hour and like talk about it. But
Yeah, it feels more so like they're lost in the woods is more dangerous to them than like mutant cannibal serial killers that are after them.
yeah, yeah, it's very strange. It's
Yeah.
very strange that they like, because like we said, I mean, they find the barbed wire around their tire right away. And to me, that says, oh, we're in danger. We should move and
Mhm.
keep moving. And that never occurs to any of
And
them.
again, we kind of said this where the cold open of this movie has nothing that ties it back to the rest of the movie. Where you
No.
could have it, hey, we're out here looking for our friends. And then
Yeah.
when the barbed wire happens, oh no, this could have been what happened to our friends when they went missing. It creates
Yes.
this instant sense of urgency for our characters and then for our audience too, because I mean, again, from the cold open, our audience already knows something is wrong, something's out in the woods.
Yep.
Our
So
characters are just too dumb to notice it right away.
yeah.
It's not
It's
like they're oblivious to it, it's just that they're too dumb to notice it.
yeah. It's very
It sounds
it's
like
very
we're
strange.
we're crapping on this movie, but like it's still a ton of fun to watch.
Yeah, it is.
Even though
It's
the characters in it are very dumb, I think it's a very well shot movie. Again, the final act happens like
yeah.
they explode. The house like basically explodes and is on fire.
They blow up the house from like 15 feet away, and I'm like, okay, y'all would have been like blown up with it. You know that, right?
They at least get blown down with it.
Yeah, yeah, they get knocked over and then they get up and they're fine.
Yeah.
There's no like splinters of wood going through any of them, even though it went everywhere. Like I was like, okay, they're two of the luckiest people on earth. Also, there's the scene right before. I just checked my notes. Do you remember the dream sequence? It's when Doctor Guy and Final Girl are in like the cave or whatever,
Oh
and
yeah,
she
I
has the
forgot
dream.
all
There's the
about
dream
that scene.
sequence, and they both like she wakes up and she's clearly had a nightmare, and then like Doctor Guy wakes up and he goes, it's okay, we were dreaming."
They had a shared dream,
They had
100%
a shared
shared
dream. These Appalachian hillbillies are damn Freddy Kruegers. They're just popping
dream.
up in mutual dreams.
Yeah. I
We
forgot
were dreaming. That sent me.
I forgot all about that because again, there's zero sense of urgency because they end up
Even in the dream.
yeah, they end up in this cave. Yeah, they end up in the
Yeah.
cave and like we're gonna fall asleep here. It's like get out of the woods.
You should not be sleeping until you have made it to safety.
Yeah,
It's insane. And then, you know, shortly after, girl gets kidnapped, girl gets tied to bed. Come on.
yeah.
Come on.
Lazy trope again, especially since they already set up like they're not like ones to kidnap people; they're ones
No.
to kill them and then eat them. Like that's
Yeah.
yeah. Why are they kidnapping her?
Why would she be alive and tied to the bed? Like
Yeah,
once they got her, she should have been, I mean, she should have been dead.
yeah.
It feels really weird and super creepy. Like she's tied up on that bed for so long for like, and it's just like, ugh, this feels very early
Yeah.
2000s.
Yeah, this movie it has that vibe of like yeah, those early 2000s slashers where I think you and I both have a soft spot for
Oh
them.
yeah, for sure. I
And we
still loved this.
yeah, we had a blast watching it. It's not so Wrong Turn is not a great movie. It's
No.
not gonna be like even like Cabin Fever I think stands out to me as like I have so much fun with that movie and it stands
Mhm.
apart from almost anything else. Wrong Turn just feels like it's
It's
like
a very middle of the road kind
it's
of
a
one.
very middle of the road slasher movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you can have fun with this. There's promise to it. Again, the action set piece halfway through the movie in the trees is a ton of fun.
Yep.
But besides that, I don't know what else you really get out of it. You're not going to be like hating it. You're going to have a lot of fun with it. Maybe like poking fun of the movie like we did,
Yeah. Well,
more so than enjoying like the story that's being told. You're just having fun, kind of poking into the things that aren't so great in it.
Yeah. And the I will say the end credits scene was pretty good too.
Yeah, it has a like mid-credit scene.
Yeah, where the like park ranger is, or the sheriff or
The
whoever.
sheriff shows up because
Yeah,
he
the
got the
sheriff.
phone call. Yeah,
That's right. Yeah, so the sheriff shows up and the house is obviously like smoldering and burnt down, and he's, searching the wreckage, and silhouetted on his cop car lights like dead of the night, and you see there's like there are names for all these mutants. I
Oh,
don't
is
know all
there?
of them. I think it's Three Finger because the actor looks like the one that would have
Yeah.
been under those prosthetics. Um, yeah, so Three Fingers shows up behind him with an axe, and there's this great close-up shot of him all like burned up and like shrieking, and then axe comes down, cut to black. I'm a sucker for stuff like that. I thought that was a really fun post-credit scene, and it was shot with maybe a little more style than a lot of the movie, I felt
Mm-hmm.
like.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing, is like there are areas of this movie, like the tree sequence, like that where there's some decent camera work that like elevates what's on the
Yeah.
screen, and like a certain style that's like, oh, like this is really cool, but it's not that way consistently.
Yeah, the story and the characters don't live up to the overall like I guess style of the rest of the movie, and
Yeah,
overall like just premise. Yeah, like if we had some interesting characters that made somewhat decent choices, and this movie had a little bit more of a better pace to it and a sense of urgency to it, because again, like we said, that action set piece is great. I think it's a very well shot movie. Again, it doesn't
yeah,
feel like a 2003 like gross aughts slasher movie like most of the other ones do. Yeah,
yeah,
this is a movie I would put on again and I would have fun with, and I would give a slight recommendation to it, but
yeah.
like don't watch by yourself. Like watch it with friends.
Yeah.
Like it's not one to watch by yourself and be like, "Oh my god, I love Wrong Turn," but it's a fun throwback early aughts slasher.
Although if you order pizza, time it better than we did. We got our pizza like right as they got into the cannibal house for the first time, and
Yeah.
I couldn't eat my pizza for a couple minutes after that.
Yeah. Our barbecue maybe looked a little too close to whatever these mutant cannibals were eating.
Yeah, yeah. You had a barbecue pizza and I had one covered in buffalo sauce, and I think
Yeah.
both of us were just like, "Nah, I'm good."
We'll wait for them to get out of the house.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's jump into Wrong Turn 2 Dead Ends.
Yes.
Directed by Joe Lynch in his feature directorial debut. This one is so much fun because this
Oh
one
my
follows
God.
it follows a like a reality TV show that's like a knockoff of Survivor with a host played by Henry Rollins, who we
Yep.
talked about in Feast last time.
Yep. It might
On
as
the
well
show.
be also Henry Rollins month.
Apparently, it was Henry Rollins month, and he plays this like he's almost like if Joe Rogan was a survivalist. Like that's what he feels like in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah. He's very talk show host,
Yeah,
but he also like has that kind of macho action hero kind of thing
yeah.
going.
Like this show 100% would have ended up on Spike TV in 2007.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. It could have been sandwiched between like Survivor and Fear Factor
Yeah.
easily.
Yeah, it's almost kind of a combination of those two. And it's
Yeah.
basically like people are surviving the like like wasteland apocalypse is basically
Yeah.
what they're supposed to be doing. It's just people in the woods, and like they have like a tracker on them, and basically if you go past like a certain point you become like infected, and you
Yeah.
have to find like the cure before time runs out. Like
Yeah,
different challenges like that.
Yeah, there are like little markers all over the woods that'll set off and like the alarm sounds until you pull like your task card out or whatever.
Hmm.
Yeah, which they have a lot of fun with that in the first half, but they kind of get away from it in the back half, I feel like.
Yeah,
But that's because the back half is just batshit insanity.
yeah. And again, you see so many Joe Lynch isms in this movie where,
Yes.
again, the style of it feels 100% Joe Lynch. And I love that he got his hands on this franchise and really made it his own and made it
Yeah.
very unique because, yeah, I mean, there are still ties to the first movie, I guess. It's just that, like,
Just that
Pepto-Bismol
Pepto-Bismol guy shows up.
Bismol guy shows up and more of like mutated cannibals out in the woods. It's a different group this time. It's a family. Like it's a
Yeah.
mom and a dad and two kids. And is there another one? Is there like a grandma or
I think there's
like
a
an older
grandma
one, right?
and there's a baby that happens in this movie.
Oh yeah, there is.
There's a whole birthing scene, which
Yeah.
is disgusting.
This is a very horny movie.
Yes. Well, which it's Joe Lynch,
It's
so
Joe
kind
Lynch.
of what do
That
you
makes sense.
expect, right?
Yeah. But these mutated cannibals are so horny in this movie. They are just humping each other nonstop throughout it.
Yeah.
And we talked about that in
if they're not
Feast too.
jerking off in the woods, they're humping each other.
Yeah. This and Feast like would be a perfect double feature because they both feature Henry Rollins and horny monsters.
It's so true. It's
Yeah.
so true. It's crazy.
A family of horny monsters. We did not try to do this.
We did not.
But yeah, this could have been the double feature.
This could have been, and it's so funny that it's funny we wound up here because we kind of made that realization like halfway through Wrong Turn 2, like, holy shit, this is kind of like Feast.
Yeah.
It even came out in like, I want to say within a year of each other.
Yeah, I think Feast was like
05 or 06, maybe?
Yeah, 06, I think.
Yeah. And then Wrong Turn 2 is 07.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Wrong Turn 2 rules right from the opening. So like where Wrong Turn, like we said, is kind of maybe more like in line with a TCM, like a Toby Hooper TCM, where you're seeing less than what you like. If that's the case, the template for Wrong Turn 2 was Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Yeah.
At times, it just feels like a direct homage or even like a pseudo remake of that movie because the similarities are, I mean, pretty glaring. Like you start with a wonderful opening kill, which kind of makes up for the first one's lackluster opening kill, with Kim Caldwell. Who I had to look up because I didn't know who that was. Did you know who that was?
I don't remember the opening of this movie.
You don't remember? So it's Kim Caldwell playing herself.
Okay.
This is a woman who was on American Idol, apparently.
I don't know her. Yeah.
Yeah, I had to look her up. I was like, oh, she's on American Idol. That explains why I didn't know her.
Oh yeah, she's the like actress going to be on this.
Yeah, so she's actually, I guess, playing herself.
Okay.
And yeah, she's on her way to be in this reality show. And basically, like, yeah, she's a city slicker driving through the country, much like the opening of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and she runs afoul of some hillbillies that we're a little familiar with, and they bisect her right in half. Like, she just gets cut straight down the middle. There's this awesome shot where you just see all of her guts fall out, and then just both sides of her body fall to the side. And then the two mutants take a half and drag her away.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's so over the top and brutal and funny. And like from there, it's a tone setter. Yeah, it's a tone setter, and you know exactly what movie you're watching. And then like you get introduced to all of the characters through like basically a trailer for the like a promotional video for the reality TV show, and it gives you kind of the rundown of all the characters. One of them is from Chevy Chase MD, Chevy Chase, Maryland, I guess. But that just seems like I don't think Chevy Chase, Maryland is a real place. So that's got to be some like dumb gag. Did you see that when it
Yeah, I
happened?
remember
Yeah,
us talking about it. Did
I
we ever?
wrote it. I wrote it in my notes
I'm gonna
because I
look
was
it
like,
up. If
okay,
Chevy Chase, Maryland is a real city.
because if it isn't, that's such a weird random joke.
It is a census designated place in Maryland.
Oh my god.
Population of 10,000. Chevy Chase, Maryland
What?
is a real place.
That is insane. Are they is it No, their name is derived from Chevy Chase, the name of the land patented to Colonel Joseph Belt.
Mm-hmm.
That makes
That's
no
wild.
That is so crazy. Okay, what are the odds
There
though?
was a battle there called the Ballad of Chevy Chase. This is wild.
That's insane. That's got to be like Joe Lynch found out that there was a place called Chevy Chase, Maryland. He's like, I've got to put that in my movie. Yeah. Yeah. That's hilarious. I genuinely like that was, yeah. I thought it was just a running gag, but that is incredible that it is a real place that you can visit, and it is now on my bucket list to go see Chevy Chase, Maryland.
To Chevy Chase, Maryland. Uh-huh.
Oh man, rad.
We should rent like a station wagon, like the vacation car, and drive to Chevy Chase, Maryland. Like it's our Wally World is Chevy Chase, Maryland.
Oh my god, that would be great. We should do it.
Yeah. And then we'll watch Wrong Turn 2 Dead End in Chevy Chase, Maryland.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll host a screening there.
Yeah.
And we'll invite Chevy Chase for a post-screening Q&A.
Yep. And he can yell at us because he's like, I have nothing to do with this movie.
It would be fun to troll Chevy Chase, though.
Yeah, he seems like a fun guy to troll.
Yeah, he does.
Mostly because he's an asshole.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of assholes, the characters in this movie,
they're all awful.
They're all awful. There's, at least in this movie, again, Joe does a great job of, there's so many characters in this, where you have plenty of characters to have a big body count in this movie. You don't like the last movie where you just kind of like, all right, we got to meander. We can't kill anyone else off because we only have 3 characters left type of thing.
Yeah.
They have plenty of characters, and they're all pretty terrible characters. Yeah. There's one guy in particular, since I brought up the asshole thing, where he is so miscast in this movie, where he's supposed to play like douchey frat boy who's like constantly hitting on all the girls on this reality
the blonde show. Guy, right?
Yeah.
And he pulls it off with he's supposed to be douchey frat boy, but it comes across more as like a nerd in Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah, he feels like Anthony Michael Hall, like pretending to be like
a jock.
Frat.
Yeah. And then there's the producer guy whose girlfriend is like kind of the perpetual, like, I'm not gonna lie. I thought his girlfriend, who was in the show against her will, that's your final girl setup, right?
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't even want to be there. And she's the first to go.
Yeah, and she has to fill in for the American Idol gal.
Kim Caldwell, which something I read about. That was actually going to be an Eliza Dushku cameo of her playing herself going to this reality TV thing. But scheduling issues, I think she was probably doing Buffy or Angel at this time. I don't know. She's been in a lot since this, so yeah. I don't know how I feel about that.
Let's get the girl from American Idol.
Yeah, we can't get her, so let's get Kim Caldwell.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that's cool. That's cool.
I'm sure it was a big hit on the 2007 straight to DVD market.
Oh yeah.
Because this is a straight to DVD movie. You can't really tell that it is, though. I mean, it has some. It's got some really good production value to this movie. And again, like comparing it to the first movie, like they feel very similar.
Yeah, they do. They do and they don't, because I feel like the hallmarks are there in this, but like Joe Lynch is having fun with them, whereas like I don't know if I'd consider Wrong Turn like an overtly fun. It is fun, but like it takes itself seriously. Whereas
The
like
first
Wrong
one, yeah.
Turn, yeah, whereas Wrong Turn 2 is like it's basically a horror comedy.
Yeah.
Um because it's not really, it's not particularly scary. It's just gory and it's over the top and it's fun. It's very much like a TCM2 kind of thing where it's like, yeah, like all this is gross and it's horrifying, but we're also laughing at it and with it, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, and for me, like, so obviously, like, the setup is that they're shooting this reality TV show, and as they're out in the woods, like, the mutant cannibals show up and just start picking people off. Like, that's the
Yep.
of this movie, and that's really all you need for a plot. It's more of a plot than the last one, that's for sure.
Yes.
But Henry Rollins is so much fun in this movie. He's my
Yeah.
easily my favorite character because again, like he's super quirky because
Yep.
he doesn't drop the game show host, the survivalist gimmick at all. He
No.
is his character is 100% dedicated to it. Even so much so in the third act of this movie, he just becomes Rambo.
Yeah, he really does.
100% is just Rambo trying to save the day by the end of this.
Yep. He's got like the face paint, like the war paint on it and everything.
Yep.
Like he he also wanders around like subterranean, like all through the woods and subterranean tunnels, very much like Lieutenant Lefty in Texas
Yeah.
Chainsaw Massacre 2. It's got
He's
very
like
much
a
a Dennis
combination
Hopper kind of vibe.
of Lefty and Rambo.
Yeah. I just once wanted Henry Rollins to scream, "Burn it all
Burn it
down!"
down!
Uh yeah. This movie is a ton of fun. Like we said earlier, it's a very horny movie.
Very.
There's a lot of mutant sexual activity, including a birthing scene of a mutant baby that we definitely find out was an incest baby.
Oh, 100.
Um,
As most, I assume this
which
entire family
yes,
is.
it's, obviously, you don't get mutated without having a few cousins in the family, or like, you don't get deformed by just having, their tree brain, or their family tree is a totem pole is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And yeah, so you've got the weird mutant baby C-section where they literally are like cutting a baby out of one of them, which is just nasty.
Hmm.
um then you go to that beach scene where the producer of the show, who's also running the camera, I guess, um he's a real sleazeball, isn't he?
Yeah,
um
he's just a scumbag.
yeah,
Everyone's pretty
he
awful.
looks like a My Chemical Romance reject. Like he auditioned for the band, but they were like, "No, you're a poser." So he decided to go do reality TV and coerce women into sexual favors. And like, they just couldn't kill that guy fast enough for me. I was like, he needs to just die.
Hmm.
um, but yeah, there's this weird scene where like he's engaging in sexual activity on the beach with a young actress, and the teenage mutant is off in the woods yanking his chain.
Hmm.
And then sister,
He's chopping wood in the woods.
yeah, he's chopping wood in the woods.
Yeah.
And his sister shows up and she don't like that very much. And so she stops him. And then they kill the girl instead of the guy, which I was like, dick move, guys. Um, and then they just proceed to have very aggressive sex with each other, the brother and the sister.
Yep.
Insane scene, just like hilarious, but oh man, like so like disturbing.
Very. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's so much in that scene alone. That's just
yeah,
it
like
feels very again, it
that
feels
whole
very Joe
section.
Lynch,
Yeah,
but it kind of makes me wonder if that was like in the script or if like Joe added it to it because it does I don't know, it just feels very Lynch to me.
I was about to say I mean, you and I both love like Holliston, and we both listen to the movie Crypt, and like just hearing Joe Lynch talk about movies and about sex in movies, like that was 100% a Joe Lynch edition. That was
Yeah.
him being like, look, these are like incestuous mutant zombie or mutant like mountain people, but that's never really played with in the first one. So
Yeah.
we're going to like explicitly call it out for what it is in this one. And he does a damn fine job of it. You know, by the end of this movie that they are incestuous, horny mutants.
Yep.
Yeah. Gross.
You have one guy that I recognized from Final Destination 3, I think 4.
Yeah.
Texas Battle, just because he has like the coolest real life name ever. Texas Battle. What a great name. He is also in this movie. He plays like an injured football player, correct?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah. Yeah.
Who's on this reality TV show. And again, like there's so many characters in this, and he has, for me, like again, one of those iconic scenes in this movie where him and like they partner up in this, where they go out in the woods, and him and his partner find like just a piece of meat roasting over a fire, and they think it's part of this. They think it's part of the game.
So they're like, we're scavenging.
Like, oh, hey, look, we found food. That's the whole point of this, because we're survivalists. We're supposed to survive the apocalypse. We found food. We're going to steal it. And they bring it back to base camp, and it cuts back to them just like peeling pieces off of it, taking big old bites of like this jerky almost.
Yeah.
And then it's revealed.
It's very clearly a human leg.
Very clearly a human leg, and there's like a giant tattoo on it. And they just don't notice.
They don't notice the tattoo until they've already eaten most of the leg.
Most of the leg is gone. Yeah.
They eat Kim Caldwell's leg.
Yep.
And then they recognize the tattoo. And then one of them throws up. The other ones probably should have, but they don't.
Yeah.
Like, you just ate human meat. You should probably go throw up.
What do you do in that situation?
I mean, I'd probably be in a state of catatonia. Like, I wouldn't move. I wouldn't speak. I think my brain would just completely shut down on me. So how do you comprehend something like that?
But like, what if you were still hungry? Would you just keep eating?
Oh, if it was life or death, yeah.
Yeah. But
if it was like, okay, so if it was
like in their situation.
Oh, no, in their situation? Hell no.
Yeah.
Like, here's the thing. They're on a reality TV show. I'm like, it's so stupid to assume that you just found a campsite in the woods that's part of this TV show and has meat for you without some kind of caveat, at least. Also, there's a tattoo on that meat. Like, look at the meat before you eat it.
But they don't even question like what it is.
No.
Like
they're just like, oh, this is really good.
Yeah. I've never tasted anything like this before.
Yeah. If you haven't tasted anything like this before, you should check the rest of the meat.
Yeah. And who was cooking it? Where did it come from?
Yeah. It's so weird. It's
so
over gross.
A fire roasting, and they just steal it. Yeah.
But again, this is stupid horror movie behavior that I can get behind because
it's fun.
It works in the context of the movie, and it's hilarious. Yeah. Like.
Mm-hmm. So one of my other favorite scenes in this is where two characters end up in a trap, and they end up like getting pulled up into the trees by their feet.
Oh yeah.
And you had this great scene where like the mutant cannibals show up, and like the dad's has a bow and arrow, and he's about to take his shot at them, and he sees his son next to him. And instead of like just shooting them and killing these people that they're chasing after, he uses this as a teaching lesson. He
father-son bonding moment.
A father-son bonding moment to teach his son, his mutated horny son, how to properly shoot a bow and arrow. And it's like this like almost like tender moment between father and son.
It's
bonding.
It's weirdly wholesome. Like it genuinely was like, oh, that's sweet. And then you realize what they're doing.
And then they shoot the bow and arrow, and it goes through both of their like heads.
Oh yeah.
It's so good.
Great kill. Great kill. God, I had forgotten about that. I didn't have that in my notes. And Henry Rollins also gets captured like halfway through this, and then he evades capture and he goes on the or he like escapes and he goes on the offensive. But the best part is when he escapes capture, he shoots one of the mutants with a shotgun, and they fly back like
blast them
30 feet back. Like, I mean, and they're flipping and like it's so over the top. It's like, what gauge is that shotgun?
He's got the Henry Rollins power behind him.
Yeah. It's like Henry Rollins has super shotgun powers, I guess. It's like level up. I don't know. It's stuff like that that makes it. Yeah, it's stuff like that that makes this, like, to me, I don't better. No, I do think this movie is genuinely better than Wrong Turn.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also a hell of a lot more fun, and I think that accounts for a lot of it. You know, Joe Lynch just has a way of. I could get where his style would rub people wrong. Like, it is a lot. It is very over the top. And if you like things that are like very grounded, like, Joe Lynch is not your director at all. But as someone who appreciates B movie zaniness, he's really one of the best indie directors working in genre anyways right now, I feel like, because he really does have a unique voice and a unique style, and it's just so campy and fun and over the top, and his gore effects are always just top notch. They're just great.
Yeah, you can just tell he just loves horror movies and just loves making horror movies, and like 80s especially. Like, that's why, I mean, him and Adam Green are I mean, hand in hand with each other, obviously hosting Movie Crypt and starring in Holliston together. But even just their movies, you can tell like the movies that they grew up on and how much those influenced the movies that they make. Like, obviously they love like Friday the 13th and Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 especially. Like, that is so present and pretty much all of their work. And this is no exception with this movie here.
Yep, for sure. Oh, real quick side tangent. Did you see the video that they posted from one of their cons that they did together with the news interview?
No.
There was a news guy.
With Adam and Joe?
With Adam and Joe. And they had pieced this video together. Like, some of it was behind the scenes and some of it was the stuff that actually made it to air because it was like on live television. But like, a local news station came to cover the con they were working at. And the news person obviously had no idea who either of these two were, right? They were reading off of a clipboard the notes for them. But they mistook it. They talked to Joe first, introduced him and his stuff like correctly, moved on to Adam, and on live TV called him introduced him as Joe Lynch. And Adam just rolled with it. And he went, yeah, and you can just see like the knowing smile on his face. And he goes, yeah, I'm known for the Hatchet trilogy and the TV series Holliston. And just recently I directed a little movie called Suitable Flesh. and then it cut to like something. One of the people that was with him must have been shooting on a cell phone because they were shooting like Adam, and they panned over to Joe, and Joe was dying laughing. It was really funny. I was like, oh my God, that's hilarious.
I'm gonna have to find this now. I love those two.
They both posted it on their Twitter. It was really funny.
I love those two so much. Yeah.
They're great. They're so great. I like dream collaboration is us working with the Movie Crypt at some point, because those two guys rule. 100%. Those two guys rule. So
I feel we have a little Adam and Joe on our show too. I'll let you and the people decide which ones win.
Yeah.
I think people can probably figure it out.
Probably.
Anyway, what else you got for notes on this one?
I love when they steal the TV van and the douchebag producer director guy is in the bag.
Yeah.
And he's thinking it's just like crew members, and he runs up, and obviously it's not. I can't remember how he dies though. I'm having a hard time remembering what happens to him.
I don't remember.
But I do remember thinking, yeah, that was satisfying, because like I just really wanted that guy to get a really bad death. And I think it comes in the van. Like I think one of them like grabs him and like, I don't know, they do something to him in the back of that TV van.
I don't remember. Yeah.
Because I don't remember anything with him after that happened. I don't know. By that point, I was able to eat my pizza again, so I was a little distracted, I think.
Mm-hmm. And with like 20 different mutated cannibal kills.
Yeah, it is. It's a like very high body count movie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really I'm genuinely excited to watch Wrong Turn 2 again. That will be one that I will revisit probably fairly frequently. It's very, very much my type of slasher.
Yeah.
It's really good. There were multiple times that we were watching this, and I think it's just because it's from that era, but I was like, we really need to do a My Super Psycho Sweet 16 episode sometime where I just sit you down and we watch that trilogy. Because those movies are so, they are a time capsule. And I don't know if they're a good time capsule, but they are an accurate time capsule. And it's great. I don't know. It's exactly what you'd expect from a trilogy of slashers produced by MTV to mirror one of their best reality shows. That's all I'll say about it until we do that episode.
Until we do My Super Psycho Sweet 16. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you talked about those on the show before.
I think I have. Because they were a recent discovery within the last year or so. Yeah. Oh, okay. Notes. We already kind of talked about they ate Kim Caldwell's leg. The third act is very TCM2. You've got the ooh rah from Henry Rollins that kind of feels like his own version of Ash's Groovy.
Mm-hmm.
And he kills the mutants by exploding them with dynamite.
Yep.
just like Looney Tunes, like manic Looney Tunes bullshit throughout the entire third act of this movie. He's just like slipping lit sticks of dynamite into their like clothes and stuff, and going like hee and running away.
And they explode. Yeah.
It's so great. It's so great. I also have, these notes are so random. I also have feeding the mutant baby with finger food, and I remember that was when they had the mutant baby and they were feeding, I can't remember whose finger it was, but the baby was like, the little mutant baby was just gnawing on a human finger. Because it wouldn't accept the milk.
It wouldn't take the milk, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
So they gave it a finger and just started sucking on the finger.
Yeah. Oh man. What a wild movie.
This is a crazy movie. There's so much going on in this. It's kind of just a stark contrast to that first movie.
Yeah. Like, it really is.
These two movies have a major Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibe to them on how different they really are. I'm not comparing the first one to the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but in terms of like the tone between these two movies, I think that's a perfect comparison is the first two Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies to these first two Wrong Turn movies.
Yeah, tonally, they just kind of weirdly mirror each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, this one's a blast. I highly recommend Wrong Turn 2 Dead End. Again, the characters may be a little stupid and grating, but there's at least one character you can latch onto with Henry Rollins in this movie. So I think that's enough, and he's there until the final act of the movie, so you at least have him to latch onto in terms of characters in this. And he's so much fun to watch in this.
And there's just like gross out gags a minute in this, and just laughs, and this one is a party slasher. Like, this is invite a group of friends over and just have a friggin' blast with this one. Yeah, or just invite one friend over and have a friggin' blast with it.
You have a blast. You order some pizza. You wait till the first movie's halfway over before you eat said pizza. And then, you just have a blast watching Joe Lynch's Wrong Turn 2.
Yep, 100%. All right. So, Casey, what star ratings did you give Wrong Turn and Wrong Turn 2?
I gave the first movie 3 stars. That's a recommend for me. I gave Wrong Turn 2 3.5.
Okay.
I might like 3.75. Like, obviously that's not a thing on Letterboxd, but like 3.75 is probably closer to what I would give it. In that half star, it's more towards the 4 than the 3.
That's fair. I have Wrong Turn at a 3, which is also for me, like, that's a slight recommend. Like, I still think that there's good stuff in that's worth checking out. It's just not, like, it's not a classic. It's not my favorite or anything like that. Wrong Turn 2, I did go with the 4-star rating. I just had too much fun with that movie not to. I really liked it. Wrong Turn 2 was a first time watch for me as well. And I had a blast with it. Anything that Henry Rollins is in, Wrong Turn 2, Feast, Jack Frost with Michael Keaton.
That's right.
We should do that movie because that's basically just a kid's horror movie.
We'll do the 2 Jack Frost movies.
We'll do a Jack Frost double feature. Yeah. That would actually be a good episode.
Let us know in the comments. Do you want to see us do this winter? Do a Jack Frost double feature with the slasher Jack Frost and the dead Michael Keaton Jack Frost.
Better to have Snow Dad than no dad. I love that movie. Okay.
All right.
Anyways, Casey.
All right, Sam.
We've talked about our main topic, and now it's time to bloat this show even more with my favorite question. What have you been doing, man?
I'll keep it relatively brief. We do have some crossover in our.
You have quite a bit of crossover,
in our doobie doings. So one movie I didn't talk about last time that I need to bring up here, and for some reason just slipped that I just didn't put it in the notes. I watched Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire, the brand new Godzilla versus Kong movie, directed by Adam Wingard. I had a ton of fun with this movie. It is a blast. I think I liked it more than the first Godzilla versus Kong.
Okay.
Which was a movie I was kind of lukewarm on.
Okay.
And this one does sort of what that movie was doing, where Kong is the main character, where like Millie Bobby Brown is still the main character of that Godzilla vs. Kong movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. In the other one.
2021 one or whatever. 2020.
Gotcha.
2021.
Yeah, the one where she teams up with Brian Tyree Henry and they save the day by spilling coffee on a control panel.
This one though, Kong is the main character. Like the stuff that works great is when you're just with Kong and you're following him and his story, where he's in the what's it called, not Middle Earth, but
Hollow Earth.
Hollow Earth. Yeah. And he like Son of Kong is the other smaller monkey that he meets up with.
I'm so excited for this movie.
A great relationship with each other. Again, there's no dialogue in these scenes, especially in the first half of this movie where the humans just aren't there and you're just following Kong. You understand where he is as a character, and when he finds more apes in the what is it? Not Middle Earth. Hollow Earth. Hollow Earth. Such a dumb name.
It is. It's so dumb. I love the world building in that though. I'm excited. If we spend more time in Hollow Earth in this one, I think I'm gonna like it even more.
Yeah, you spend almost half the runtime in Hollow Earth.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. Okay. That was like a lot of people didn't like that in Godzilla versus Kong. I'm like, no, I want more of that. Like, I don't think they explored it enough in Godzilla versus Kong. Like, I get that was like a stretch of the movie that was kind of like boring for some people, but I'm like, there are interesting concepts there that I want them to explore more. So that makes me happy.
A lot of time there. Godzilla is kind of just there in this movie until he teams up with Kong, which
Okay.
kind of sucks because I'm like, I'm a Godzilla guy, like, but Godzilla just kind of there for him to team up with King Kong
And
by the end of it.
I'm a giant monkey guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're gonna love this movie. They fight an evil ape and a icy Godzilla, like
I'm
where
so excited.
it ends with the ape like riding this icy Godzilla into battle with a bunch of other apes behind them. And there's a point where like gravity somehow like gets turned off in the final fight, and they start like fighting in zero gravity. This movie's wild. Dan Stevens is in this. He's the most fun human character in it. I think he's having a blast. He basically plays a he's like he's a doctor, but for like monsters.
Oh my god.
He's a kaiju doctor, and it's kind of
Okay.
crazy. Like King Kong has a toothache, and he has to help King Kong with his toothache in like the opening 15 minutes of this movie.
That's awesome.
It's a wild movie. The thing, like with his character though, they try to introduce like the Marvel thing, the Guardians of the Galaxy thing, where it's like he needs to have a soundtrack for everything, and
Oh, gotcha.
it'll play 30 seconds of the song and then just like hard cut off the song. It's very jarring and noticeable. It's so out of place.
Feels studio notish, maybe.
Very studio note, but
Yeah.
this I had a ton of fun with this movie. I would absolutely watch this again. I think it's just a blast.
Oh man, that gets me so pumped for it. I've heard both things. I've heard a lot of people say like, "Oh, I really liked Godzilla versus Kong, but I was lukewarm on this." But I feel like the people who are lukewarm on Godzilla versus Kong have really enjoyed this one.
Mm-hmm.
I
think
feel
you'll
like
dig it. You'll have a blast with it.
yeah,
It's a ton of fun.
because I liked Godzilla versus Kong. I didn't love it. I don't know. I might have to make it.
Where King Kong literally suplexes Godzilla.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna love this movie.
Like I'm gonna suplex.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I gotta get out to the theater this weekend.
Yeah, before it's gone. It might already be out of theaters.
God, it might be. But that means it'll hit streaming soon, so I'll be able to catch it.
So I have a lot of new watches, but I'll do a new watch before we jump into our first of all our crossovers after this. The only other one that you did not watch that I did, a brand new movie. It's on Tubi right now. It is a Tubi original. I take that for what it is. It is the Soska Sisters Festival of the Living Dead, which is a Jen and Sylvia Soska who did See No Evil 2. They did the remake of Rabid, American Mary. I have a ton of fun with their movies, and they did Festival of the Living Dead, which is a direct sequel to George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead. And it follows Ben, the main character in that movie, his grandkids who go to this, like, every year there's a it's called Festival of the Living Dead, but it's a festival that like kind of commemorates what happened back in the 60s.
Oh, okay.
And they like burn like an effigy of a zombie there, but it's like a music festival, like a celebration of what the survivors went through 50 years ago or whatever.
Okay.
And this movie's, I mean, it's pretty fun. It's got like this punk rock vibe to it, and that might be a little jarring, like if you're going into this as a direct sequel to Night of the Living Dead that doesn't have like a modern punk rock vibe to it at all, obviously.
Yeah.
The script though, like, I don't know, it kind of lets this movie down a little bit, where it just feels very generic in the characters and plotting and why they're there. And again, it has this almost wrong turn vibe to it, the first wrong turn in terms of the actual plot of the movie. The actress who plays Catwoman in the Gotham TV show, Cameron, like, Bikandova, she plays Catwoman in the Gotham show. She's really good in that show. She's great here too. Like she's a ton of fun in this movie. I think she's the best part of it. But yeah, I don't know. It maybe just needed another facet to script, but it's a ton of fun. I think people will have fun with this movie.
Yeah, Tubi originals have actually been hitting, like, I don't know, like ever since She Came from the Woods, Um, I really have been going into Tubi originals with a really open mind, and some of them are actually like really fun.
Yeah, they
Like,
definitely like step up their game in terms of taking independent movies and
yeah,
giving them a platform for people to watch them.
yeah. I mean, all of them are very low budget, but I don't know. There's a
Yeah.
charm to a lot of them. I like them. Yeah,
Next up is a movie we both watched in the theater. We watched
yeah.
the OG Night of the Living Dead, George A. Romero's zombie classic, 5-star, perfect
You mean
movie.
Dawn of the Dead?
What did I say?
Night.
Night. Oh, sorry, Dawn of the. I mean, they're both perfect movies, but
They
Dawn of
are.
the
They're
Dead.
both
Yeah.
perfect. But yes, we watched Dawn of the Dead, the 75 one, or
Yep.
78, 78.
78th,
Yeah.
45th anniversary screening that was going around the country this last couple weeks. We saw it at the downtown Sioux Falls State Theater.
Yeah.
Awesome to have this movie in the theater again. I know it played last year, I think around Halloween. The 3D version of it did,
Oh, really?
but I don't want to see this movie in 3D.
No,
It's not a 3D movie.
it's not. It's just it's not. If I feel like 3D would ruin this, to
But
be
this is
honest.
like, I don't know. I can't think of another movie that does the vibe of this movie where it just feels like a hangout movie, but in the
Yeah.
zombie apocalypse.
Yeah. There's a whole sequence in this movie that just shows like rural hunters just getting together for a good old zombie hunt,
Yeah.
And just like it's so
I
crazy
mean,
because it's a tense movie, and it keeps moving, and there's like a dread throughout the whole thing, but it's
yeah.
also extremely laid back, and like a lot of these people don't seem to be taking the zombies very seriously, which, as the movie plays out, the people that take these zombies the least seriously are the first ones to usually
Mhm.
get gotten by them.
Yeah. I
So
mean, yeah, that there's not much else we can say about Dawn of the Dead that hasn't
yeah,
been said about this movie. I think it's a perfect movie. It's one of if not the greatest zombie movie of all time. I think it's just an absolute masterpiece that just has such this great balance of tone and characters and plot and gore and just overall setting of this movie. And nobody did it better than George Romero.
yep. Also, maybe the best horror opening of all time. Like, and I genuinely mean that. Like, I think the
Oh
opening
yeah,
scene of this movie is just masterful
you're just
in a way
thrown
that,
right
like,
into it.
I've never seen another movie pull off what George does in the first 10 minutes of this. Like, you are in the panic from minute one, and it just does not let up. And I'm just like, God damn. Like, the first act of this movie is more intense than the next two, essentially. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Like, it's almost like he starts with the third act and then lets you kind of like, it's weird,
And
man,
then
the
you
way
just
the
kind
way
of
this
hang
is
out the
structured.
rest of it.
Yeah,
But also
it's
it
crazy.
it builds up like, oh no, there's danger around literally every corner. And so
Right.
even when our characters are just hanging out, there's something dangerous literally just outside the walls of that mall.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. I like
It's a
that
perfect movie.
movie. I haven't stopped thinking about it since we saw it at the state, honestly. Yeah, it's incredible. I thought I had a copy on DVD. I did not, so I remedied that, and I got I got the old Anchor Bay DVD from like '07 or whatever,
Hmm.
and I already can't wait to watch this movie again.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The last two that I have, again, two new releases, so I won't go too much in depth on either of them. I know you watched both of these two. First,
Yeah.
first up that I have on my list is the First Omen, which is in theaters right now. Never in a million years did I think a prequel to The Omen would be this effective, this scary, and this just kind of out of the box movie that I am shocked that Fox 20th Century, I guess, whatever studios released. This is a
Technically Disney.
this is a Disney movie where I don't want to spoil what you see, but there's a very specific scene that happens where you see someone giving birth.
Yes.
And
there are two birthing scenes in this movie,
but
and
the
both
first
of
one
them do
just
very different.
shocking of like, oh my god, this is a Disney movie. Okay.
Yeah, the first birthing scene in this movie. When I heard about like, oh, we had to trim a certain birth scene down for the MPAA, I assumed that was the third act. The birth scene that sticks with you,
not like 40 minutes in.
Yeah, happens. It's like literally the end of it's the end of act 1.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, now you're in the shit.
Mm-hmm.
And it just doesn't like there's some nightmare imagery throughout this entire thing. Great makeup effects work. The camera work in this and the way it's directed and the sound design, everything is so just perfectly crafted.
It feels like an indie. It just feels like an indie movie, and just so happens to be an Omen studio horror film. Like it would have been like in any other studio movie, they would have left it at like the place the not the what was it called? Where these nuns are?
The nunnery? I don't know.
Yeah, whatever it's called. Yeah, yeah, that's probably the best word. But this, like, we get to see our characters outside of that, and we get to see like our main, the main nun of this movie.
Yes, Nell Tiger Free
she's so good in this, and her and her roommate have this great bond, and kind of the main relationship of this in this movie.
It's great.
And you just get to kind of see how they live their lives outside of being nuns. And that doesn't feel like you would have that in any other studio version of this movie. And like even looking at the Nun or the Nun 2 from last year, like they pretty much stick to their one location, but we get to see them outside of that. They go to a disco. Like we get to see nuns at a disco.
There's a scene in which Nell Tiger Free gets out of a car. And then for about 5 whole minutes, the camera is just trained on her unbroken. And she gives one of the most incredible physical performances I have ever seen in any movie ever. The way her whole body is moving and the way she is like, the sounds that she's making just blew my mind.
Yeah.
It just like, I was so uncomfortable through the whole thing. And like, it could have been something that was so incredibly goofy in the hands of a different actress or a different director, but it is the most bone-chilling one-shot take that I have seen in I don't know how long. Just like, what is this?
I looked back on like when we did our like preview of this year, and we both had this. We'll watch eventually.
Yeah, I'm glad we both saw this in theaters.
And we both went to the theaters.
Oh my God.
This is my favorite horror movie of the year so far. I loved this movie.
It's top 3 for me. Yeah.
I mean, I'm a huge fan of the Omen. I love the Omen 2. I haven't seen the third one yet. It made me want to like rewatch the entire original trilogy of Omen movies. The ending is a little studio. That's the most studio part of this. I didn't hate it, but you could tell it was the most studio mandated part of it. And I'm okay with that, because if the last 5 minutes are the most studio mandated thing and the rest of the runtime is kind of, it feels like complete freedom to do whatever they wanted, I'm all for that. And if we can get more studio horror movies like that, where it's like, we need to tie this into a franchise, and here are your very few restrictions you have to do, but the rest you can kind of go crazy with, I'm all for it. Sign me up. Let's do this again.
Yeah, because there are definitely like a few fan servicey moments, nods to like the original movie, that kind of thing. Although they all kind of have their own twist on them that makes them different, so it's not like, oh, I'm just watching the same thing.
Yeah, the It's All For You, Damien scene in this one is very effective, and like bumps up like what's the next crazy logical progression of that. And it does it.
The actress that gets that moment is incredible too. Yeah. Like her facial expressions are just the most unnerving. Like the whole movie, my skin was crawling.
Yeah. I don't want to say too much more because I want people to go out, watch this movie. I would love to do maybe towards the end of the year, we should do an Immaculate and the First Omen episode, because I think those are going to be two of the big movies everyone's going to be talking about towards the end of the year. And it's crazy. It is insane that those movies came out within like 2 weeks of each other, because they are legitimately the same plot, but they are so different in terms of what movies they are.
Yeah, like all of the similarities are pretty superficial, and there are some weird similarities where like,
oh yeah,
certain payoffs, it's like, oh my god, they literally did the exact same thing, surface level, but like the context of everything is completely different. I think both of these movies are fucking incredible. And spoiler alert, both of them are in my top 3 movies this year currently.
Yeah, I am 100% with you.
Yeah, I just, like you said, it's crazy that they came out within 2 weeks of each other, but I don't think that should detract from either one of them, because both of them are doing different things incredibly well.
If anything, I think it's helping both movies.
Yeah. Right? They should have released on the same weekend, so we could have done a Barbenheimer. Horror needed a Barbenheimer this year, and Immaculate in the First Omen was our opportunity.
We got it. It was close enough.
It was close enough. It was, oh god.
My last one that I have is one that will not make my top 10, and it hurts me so much that it won't. And the more I sit with it, the more I don't like it. And that's Late Night with the Devil. There's so much I do like in this movie.
Yeah.
This is the brand new Shudder film. It had a small theatrical run. I tried to make it to theaters to watch that, but again, like, good for Sioux Falls. They only had a couple showings, and it was pretty much sold out the weekend I was going to check it out. But like, I've talked about it, I think, on this podcast, but like, this is one of, if not my most anticipated movie of this year, because it feels like something right up my alley, because I love movies like Ghost Watch and WNUF Halloween Special, like 70s like TV horror is right up my alley. Like, this has a sort of vibe of the Paul Lynde Halloween Special, which is a very goofy 70s Halloween TV special that I have a ton of fun with. It just has that perfect fall Halloween vibe. And this movie does, for the most part, until it doesn't.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest problem with Late Night with the Devil. David Dastmalchian plays the lead. He's like
Jack Delroy.
He's the number 2 to Johnny Carson. He's the number 2 guy in Late Night.
Which is a really fun running gag.
It is, and it's great. He's so good in this movie. I think he's perfect for it. I love the overall premise of like, what's the next thing he's going to do to get him to, what is this guy who's the perpetual number 2 gonna do to get to that number 1 spot and beat out Carson? He's gonna have she's
supposed to be like 13, but like the actress is so clearly like an adult.
But like 20 something, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's supposed to be like this girl who's possessed and brings her onto live TV.
Yep. To have a conversation with the devil.
And everything on the TV show is great. I love it. Mm-hmm. And before that, they have like a psychic medium come out.
Yep. And then
he's so great. And then you have a skeptic.
A magician who is now a skeptic who debunks everything. He's a real wet blanket.
Yeah.
He's probably like my favorite character in this.
He's the perfect wet blanket. Yeah.
And he's the perfect amount of like believable douchebag, but also like you kind of get where he's coming from. You know what I mean? Like
he would absolutely be on if this was a real talk show in the 70s, he absolutely would have been on it for this episode.
Yes, 100%. I would love to see a spinoff with him, just like, because he makes some reference to like the Warrens in Amityville. I would love to see a spinoff where he's just like following the Warrens around, just debunking all their shit.
Shows up in The Conjuring 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. This where it works really well is when it is that 70s TV show.
Yep.
Where everything that
the TV audience is seeing is perfect.
Where it doesn't is where it just stops becoming that. And especially, I'm not going to spoil anything for people who do want to watch this.
Hmm.
I would give a recommend to it because there is enough to
Yes.
to definitely recommend in this. And
I still think people
mileage
should go
definitely
see it.
varies in this. And for all like every review I've seen on Letterboxd is about the stupid AI thing. I'm like, that's the least of this movie's problems, and it
No, yeah.
didn't bother me at all.
I mean, that's a conversation we need to be having, but this movie is not the make or break of that conversation.
A low budget horror movie that probably
Yeah,
had
like
$3 million to make it.
yes,
No,
like
that's not the movie.
it's not the movie. It's not the movie to put your stake in on this
Yeah,
one. You know, like it's just not.
but yeah, there's almost too many ideas in this movie that it's working off of for its own
Yeah.
good, and probably should have focused on the premise of like a late night talk show that
Yes.
has a guy who's like basically wants to interview the devil through this little girl.
My
I don't know.
my
What did you I don't know. We haven't talked about this yet.
We haven't talked too much about it. I'd say I loved about 2/3 of this movie. Like you said, everything that like the Michael Ironside voiceover to set the tone, the like kind of almost like 48 hours mystery opening where it's like giving you the backstory and everything, and like Jack Delroy lost his wife and he joined a cult in the woods and all this kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And I'm like, yeah, this is great, you know? And
I know
they lace all
it has
these.
that is one of my favorite, like, I mean it's a real life thing, but like urban legends of what happens at Bohemian Grove. And Jack
Yeah.
Elroy is a part of a Bohemian Grove. I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the third most important thing of his character.
Yeah. And it just, so to me, like the between the opening with Michael Ironside's narration and then everything that you see Jack do in his performance tells the story. But for whatever reason, there are sequences that are backstage footage never before seen. But it's not shot like backstage footage. It looks like it's shot with modern cameras. The only thing they do is they shoot it in black and white.
Mm-hmm.
And not to spoil anything, but like in the final act, it almost ditches the found footage completely at a certain point. And that is where the movie completely lost me.
Yeah.
Where like I think the ending just very much falls flat on its face. And that does pain me to say because like the build up to it, incredible. Like everything Des Malchin's doing, awesome. Ingrid Torelli as Lily, the possessed girl, she's so creepy.
So
They need to give her more to do in this movie. Like she's so good, and I feel like they should have utilized her more. That said, like
this should have played like Ghostwatch, where it was an hour. We just get an hour long, and I've seen so many reviews say this is better as a VHS segment. Having watched the final product, I agree with that because then you could have done a 30-minute segment where it's literally the TV show from the opening monologue to the crazy shit going down with the little girl. And that's probably what this movie should have been. And I think it would have a better staying power than this movie, I think, will, because for me, it might just end up being like, yeah, remember that movie instead of like Ghostwatch or the WNUF Halloween special where it's like, oh my God, look, this is what you can do with this concept and this idea. And yeah, it just doesn't fully work. Des Malchin's great. I would watch Night Owls. Like
give
I
him
would
more leading roles.
Yeah. I would watch a Jack Delroy Night Owls TV show on Shudder. Like, do more with this guy. He's so good, and again, especially in horror, the dude obviously loves it. He has his own horror host character. He writes a comic book.
He writes a great comic
about a horror host that's a monster hunter. Like, obviously, the dude loves the genre, and I want to see more from him. And I wouldn't even mind seeing more of Jack Delroy if they wanted to somehow spin this off into something else. They won't. They probably won't. But like, I wouldn't mind if we got like a 10-episode miniseries of like Jack Delroy doing other paranormal investigation type stuff on his show.
Yeah, it would be cool, wouldn't it? Like,
Yeah.
and so many people are like, oh, well, it wouldn't. This is a movie that weirdly could do a sequel, and I feel like it wouldn't ruin the ending of this one. Mainly because I didn't necessarily like the ending of
The
this one,
ending's not
but
great. Yeah.
but also like I feel like it would make sense to have a sequel. Honestly, I don't know.
Yeah.
I like I said, there's a point in the movie where like it cuts to a technical difficulties screen. And I thought that's where it ended. And I was like, oh, that's ballsy. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's cool. Like I can't believe they ended it here. And then it keeps going. And that's where it lost me. Like
Yeah.
completely. Like I already didn't care for the backstage stuff, but that was like small potatoes. I'm like, whatever. Like it is what it is. It was really the final like 10 minutes really that just kind of it soured the experience for me a little bit. Um, but yes, that said, still highly recommend it. It's on Shutter right now. Like, and we're kind of in the minority on this one, I feel like, Casey. I feel like we are a little bit minority on this. This has been getting pretty big buzz.
It it has and it has. I mean, I don't know. I think we're right in the middle of this.
Yeah, maybe we are. Because
Right.
there are a lot of people who are like, oh, it sucked. And I'm like, well,
It
don't go
sucks
that
because that
far.
had AI in it.
Yeah, yeah. And
One
that's
one star.
yeah. It just
I just wanted it to be better. Obviously,
yeah.
it was one of my most anticipated movies, and just kind of fell flat on that
Yeah.
behalf. Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, I would recommend it. I want people to watch it. I want people to have a conversation with us. Let us know what you guys thought
Yeah.
on this movie, because I think it is a conversation worthy movie.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
What else have you been doing? Because that's all I got on my watch list.
So I did actually watch Joe Bob last week. No, 2 weeks ago. Um, after I turned off Rotten Tail in favor of Slumber Party Massacre and Slumber Party Massacre 2, Joe Bob played the Toxic Avenger in the
Yeah.
last episode, which was a first time watch for me. I had watched bits and pieces of it before, but I'd never actually watched the whole thing. Oh man, that was such a fun episode. Such a wild movie. I've just watched a lot of good horror in the last 2 weeks. I've been floating pretty high on the horror stuff I've been watching. And Toxic Avenger is another one of those that like I watched it and for days afterwards I just kept thinking about it and smiling and cringing and going, "Oh my god, they shot a dog. Why?" Um but like god, that movie's so fun, and Joe Bob's presentation of it as always was a ton of fun. Like him and Darcy just you can see throughout the seasons Darcy getting more comfortable in front of the camera and them just growing in their chemistry together. And
Mm-hmm.
this season is just, I might not have enjoyed Rotten Tail, but the segments of Joe Bob and Darcy that I watched, I really loved it. And I think they're really kind of cutting loose and having fun this season. And it's just good to see. So yeah, the night this drops tomorrow, but technically today, if you're listening to it on your podcast feed, new Joe Bob episode. I don't know if I'll be able to watch it live, but I'll definitely be watching the replay on Sunday if I can't catch it live. So
Isn't it the Valpurgis not
it's
episode?
Walpurgis not, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So
the the Halloween episode.
it's gonna be a good one, like it always is. So yeah, I'm excited. Last Drive-In is just it's incredible. Joe Bob deserves the world. I love that guy. So um, I've been on a zombie kick because of Dawn of the Dead. I have a whole list of movies queued up for the next couple of months just because I'm like, God, I love zombie movies. I want to dive back into them. And I watched Shaun of the Dead, which is just a comfort movie for me at this point. It's a perfect movie. It's so good. It's a legitimately good zombie movie that just happens to be a comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know if you've checked our episode list yet, but I did add the Cornetto trilogy in as an episode topic because all of them have at least horror elements, and I just enjoy them. And it'd be fun to talk about those three. Because yeah, I was just watching Shaun of the Dead. I'm like, this movie's perfect. This movie is just perfect. I love it. And then the final thing, which actually just got done watching the latest episode right before I logged in to do this episode. Um, Chucky season 3 is back. We are in part 2 of season 3. It is continuing Chucky's reign of terror on the White House against President Devon Sawa and his family. And oh my god, dude, this show is just it's my favorite thing on TV right now. I love it. It is I don't even want to spoil some things, but like Brad Dourif is back in a great way. You know what? They've posted like Brad Dourif returned to screen acting for this show. And I won't spoil how he's involved live action wise or anything, because it's such a fun surprise when he does pop up. Um, but like Chucky has been my franchise for a while. I love Chucky. This series has been so good. It ended on a cliffhanger. I've been watching them day after on Peacock after the cliffhanger of this week's episode because next week is the finale. I'm watching it live next week. Like, no one talk to me between 9 and 10 p.m. Wednesday next week because I will not answer. I will be glued to my TV set. I legit got a little bit emotional at the end of this Chucky episode, which isn't new. I've gotten emotional at a few Chucky episodes, for various reasons. But all I'll say is that Jennifer Tilly is a national treasure. Devon Sawa is also a national treasure. Like, those two are just the MVPs of this show. And even after this show ends, and I know Don Mancini's working on a Chucky movie that's gonna follow up the TV show. And honest to God, at this point, I hope Devon Sawa is in every Chucky thing going forward. I feel like he, in 3 seasons, has become as integral to Chucky, the formula of this franchise, as Brad Dourif, as Jennifer Tilly, as Fiona Dourif. Like, Devon Sawa is part of the Chucky family now, and he needs to stay. His performance in this last episode just proves that. He's so funny. He's so endearing. Um, yeah, I love Chucky, man. I love Chucky season 3. I can't wait for the finale next week. And I have a feeling I'll be shedding some tears, maybe.
Is this the last season of the show? Have they announced another season?
They have not announced another season yet, although I think Mancini has plans for a 4th season. So I don't know, but he also said on his Scream Dreams episode that he is actively developing a Chucky movie. So I don't know where that fits in. I don't know if there's going to be a break between season 3 and season 4 so he can do the movie, or if season 4 will wrap the TV show for now so he can do a movie and then maybe go back to TV later. Honestly, I kind of love Chucky as a TV series. Like, I think it's allowed him to go really kind of crazy with some of these ideas, because I mean, like, they're doing stuff in this season that I'm like, no other slasher franchise could do this. No other horror franchise could do the things that they are doing on the scale that they are doing in Chucky right now. And it's kind of insane. I don't see them being able to do some of the things that they are doing in a serialized television, like in a serialized television series. I don't know, whatever. I don't see them being able to do that in a film format.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of hope that the TV show continues, but also I just hope we get Chucky for basically the rest of my life. Don Mancini, you have to outlive me. I love Chucky, dude. Yeah, that's what I'm ending my "What Are You Doobie Doing" on. If y'all aren't watching Chucky, genuinely, you're missing out. And I know I sound like a broken record saying that all the time, but I love this show. And
yeah, once this
yeah,
season's finally done, I will do my best to binge watch these last 2 seasons.
yeah. I don't know. I genuinely don't know how you'll respond to them, because they are very campy. They're very silly, and you just kind of have to be along for the ride with them. But man, am I along for this ride. Yeah, Chucky's great. Check it out. Check it out.
Check it out. All right. Is that it? Is that all
That's
you
it.
got?
That's what I got.
All right. Well, that's
that was
the
a fun
episode.
episode.
That was
Yeah.
a fun episode. We got a lot of talking, and we got a lot of movies that we almost everything I would say we recommend on this episode. It's a big old recommendation episode.
Yeah, everything we talked about. Go watch it.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of recommendations, Sam, if people want to follow us online, where would you recommend that they do that at?
Well, if you want to follow us on our socials, we do have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Just search Screens from the Basement, and we'll be the first option that pops up. If you're not watching us live on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or are we live anywhere else? YouTube.
We're not live on Instagram.
We are not live on Instagram. Never mind. We're not live on Instagram. Cut that. Yeah, so you can watch us live when we do these from week to week. We usually post announcements before on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. But if you would rather wait and listen to these in your podcast feed, you can stream us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts, or basically wherever else you get your podcasts. We're on all of them. So, yeah, be sure to like, subscribe, leave us a review or a rating, preferably a 5-star one. If you really want to talk trash, do that on Twitter, because that's what that platform is for.
It's for the trash talk, or leave a 5-star review and trash talk us in that 5-star review.
Yeah, just leave us 5 stars, even if the review is terrible.
Yeah, because we're not terrible.
We're not terrible.
We're a 5-star person. I'm a 5-star man.
Yeah, and I'm probably more of a 4.5. But
4.5's fine too.
Yeah. You know, nobody's perfect.
We'll take it. Yeah, so thank you all for watching, for listening to this episode. We will be back next week on this podcast feed with an interview.
Yes.
We'll just leave it at that. We do have a couple interviews from this past month that you can go check out. Last week, we interviewed our friend Tony Fleeks about his Army of Darkness Forever series that is going on right now, and his own creation, Feral, which is on comic book stands. Right now, I actually have my issue 2 sitting at Rainbow Comics waiting for me to pick it up.
Yes.
Yeah, so go check out our interview with Tony Fleeks there. But yeah, we have a pretty fun lineup set up for next month in May, because this is the end of Gross Aughts April, and this is the end of this episode. Sam, give the people a sign off.
All right, everybody. Be nice and be good and be just nice, kind people. And also, thanks for tuning in. And sweet screams.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal: providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.